Hello everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Mazz Reporter. Here's a quick roundup of today's top trending news for January 26, 2026, as the day unfolds across time zones. Top trending news today from the UK and European region. UK politics, Labour Party dispute. The Labour Party is facing internal problems after party leader Keir Starmer blocked Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham from standing in a local election, members accusing the leadership of unfair behaviour. UK policing. British FBI plan. The UK government has announced plans to create a new national police agency, sometimes called a British FBI. This new service will focus on fighting terrorism, serious crime, fraud, and organised gangs across England and Wales. The aim is to make policing more effective and reduce unnecessary bureaucracy. UK joins 10-nation offshore wind pact. The UK, Germany, Denmark, and 7 other countries signed an agreement to build a 100-gigawatt offshore wind power grid in the North Sea. This project aims to strengthen renewable energy and energy security across Northern Europe. Trump praises UK troops after backlash. After facing criticism for earlier remarks about UK and NATO roles in Afghanistan, Donald Trump praised British soldiers as brave warriors. UK leaders, including Prime Minister Keir Starmer, welcomed the statement, but said his previous comments were still appalling. UK protests. Asylum housing. In southern England, thousands of people protested in the town of Crowborough against plans to house asylum seekers at a former military site, saying the small community cannot support such a large facility. UK health. Cancer screening and child obesity. The NHS in England has improved bowel cancer screening tests, which doctors say could help save hundreds of lives. There are also growing concerns about rising child obesity rates. Ukraine war. Russian attacks continue. Russian attacks on Ukraine continue, with strikes on Kyiv damaging buildings and temporarily cutting heat and electricity. President Volodymyr Zelensky said U.S. security support for Ukraine is now in place. Russian oil tankers passing through the English Channel. Several Russian oil tankers under sanctions have passed through the English Channel, raising concerns about how effectively sanctions are being enforced. France seizes Russian tanker. France has seized a Russian oil tanker in the Mediterranean suspected of being part of Russia's shadow fleet, used to sell oil despite international sanctions. The ship was diverted to a French port for investigation. Ukraine praised the move, while Russia complained about not being informed in advance.
Other notable news. A serious crash on the M6 near Birmingham caused motorway closures. A large rooftop fire on Kensington High Street was fought by 60 firefighters. Gold prices reached a record high above $5,000 per ounce due to safe haven demand.
Top trending news today from the region of the Americas. Minneapolis nurse shooting. A 37-year-old American nurse, Alex Pretty, was shot and killed by U.S. federal immigration agents in Minneapolis during an enforcement operation. Officials said he was armed, but videos show he was holding only a phone. The incident caused protests, political anger, and demands for investigations. U.S. action in Venezuela. The United States said it captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. Donald Trump stated that the U.S. will oversee Venezuela's transition and secure its oil, which has alarmed many countries in Latin America. Trump-Canada trade threat. Trump warned he would impose 100% tariffs on Canadian goods if Canada makes a trade deal with China. This has increased tensions between the two close trading partners. Severe winter storm in the U.S. A powerful winter storm caused heavy snow, travel disruption, and power cuts for over 1 million people. Thousands of flights were canceled. U.S. tax season begins. The 2026 tax filing season has officially started, and the IRS is encouraging people to file early using online systems. Measles outbreak in the United States. The United States is facing a growing measles outbreak, with over 2,600 cases reported since 2025. Health experts say the rise is mainly due to falling vaccination rates, which is putting the country's measles elimination status at risk. Banking and financial regulation. In Washington, there is an ongoing debate about limiting credit card interest rates. Lawmakers and banks strongly disagree on the issue, and the outcome could affect how much consumers pay in interest and how the financial sector is regulated.
Other notable news. The events have renewed debates in the U.S. about immigration enforcement, police power, and civil rights, with many groups calling for reforms and accountability.
Top trending news today from Western Pacific region. Global politics and security. Asia-Pacific markets are mixed because of global uncertainty. This includes changing U.S. policies, such as tariffs and Arctic issues. China's growing military power in the Pacific, and weaker global cooperation. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and those in Southeast Asia are strengthening security ties and adjusting to U.S.-China tensions. Currency and financial markets. The Japanese yen has moved sharply, leading to talk that the government may step in to control it. Gold prices have risen above $5,000 per ounce as investors look for safe assets during global tensions. Some money is also moving into Asian markets. China-Taiwan relations. Tensions between China and Taiwan continue. China's leader Xi Jinping repeats plans for reunification, while Taiwan is increasing defense spending. Deliveries of new F-16 fighter jets are delayed until 2027. There is no major conflict now, but the issue remains sensitive. Pacific climate and weather. Scientists see stronger signs of El Niño forming in the Pacific, which could cause extreme weather worldwide in 2026-2027. The Pacific typhoon season has started early with Tropical Storm Nokayan. New Zealand is still recovering from recent storms and landslides. Australia Day debate. January 26th. Celebrations remain controversial. Many indigenous groups see it as Invasion Day, and political comments have caused public anger. First Nations leaders say their rights and living conditions are still being ignored. New Zealand, storm recovery. Communities are holding vigils for victims of the Mount Maunganui landslide. The country continues to recover from severe weather. South Korea, scam crackdown. South Korea detained 55 scam suspects returned from Cambodia as part of a campaign against online fraud. Japan, currency and security. Japan says it is working closely with the U.S. on currency issues. It is also strengthening security ties with South Korea. Pacific Islands, development and environment. Pacific nations seek more funding for climate resilience. There are also concerns about fast-tracking deep-sea mining and its environmental risks.
Other notable news. The region is becoming more cautious due to unstable global politics, climate risks, and uncertain U.S. policies. Countries are focusing on economic stability, security, and climate resilience.
Top trending news today from the Eastern Mediterranean region. Iran protests and rising tensions. Protests in Iran are continuing as the economy worsens and the national currency loses value. Activist groups say thousands have been killed in recent weeks during a violent crackdown. At the same time, the United States has sent more military forces to the Middle East. Iran has warned of total war. Gaza and Israel situation. Fighting in Gaza has mostly slowed, but Israel is increasing control and carrying out more military operations. Israel is searching for the last remaining hostage body. After pressure from the U.S., Israel agreed to partially reopen the Rafah border with Egypt, allowing limited humanitarian aid. Turkish aid shipments have also arrived in Egypt to support Gaza. Lebanon border tensions. Israeli airstrikes continue in southern Lebanon despite ceasefire efforts. Several people have been killed, and tensions remain high along the border. Severe weather and earthquakes. Strong storms have hit the Mediterranean, causing very high waves, flooding, and damage in places like Sicily. A medium earthquake was also felt in western Turkey, near Balıkesir. Regional security and alliances. Rivalries are growing in the Eastern Mediterranean. Israel, Greece, and Cyprus are strengthening ties, while tensions with Turkey continue. Conflicts in Yemen and Syria are still affecting the region, with some aid corridors opening in Syria. Lebanon and Syria. Cross-border strikes continue, and aid is slowly entering parts of Syria. There are also reports of prisoners and hunger strikes. Egypt and Turkey. Turkey has sent aid to Gaza through Egypt and is discussing future energy cooperation in the region.
Other notable news. Direct fighting has reduced in Gaza and Lebanon, but tensions around Iran, regional rivalries, and extreme weather continue to threaten security and humanitarian conditions.
Top trending news today from the African region. Sudan war and humanitarian crisis. The war in Sudan is getting worse. Women are described as the main victims, facing widespread sexual violence and forced displacement. The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, have gained more territory in West Kordofan. The United Nations says millions of people urgently need food, shelter, and medical help. U.S. visa restrictions. The United States has paused permanent residency visa processing for people from 26 African countries. This has raised concerns about family reunions, migration, and diplomatic relations. DR Congo conflict. In eastern DR Congo, M23 rebels have captured the city of Uvira in South Kivu. This has increased fighting and forced many people to flee their homes. The clashes involve government forces and groups linked to Rwanda. Mozambique insurgency. In northern Mozambique, joint forces from Mozambique and Rwanda are struggling to stop Islamist insurgents in Cabo Delgado. The security situation remains unstable, with rebels putting pressure on more areas. Nigeria security and politics. Nigeria continues to face attacks by bandits and terrorists, with deadly incidents reported in Niger and Kaduna states. The government now treats religious violence as a national security threat. Major political figures in Kano have defected to the ruling party, causing anger and instability ahead of the 2027 elections. Early rainfall has also raised concerns for farmers. Other humanitarian and environmental issues. Guinea-Bissau has suspended a U.S.-funded hepatitis B vaccine trial after concerns from local scientists. Mozambique is also suffering from severe floods that have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. Libya is campaigning for a seat on the UN Security Council. East Africa highlights. In Kenya, political leaders addressed security concerns after a church incident, and the government announced plans to hire thousands of teachers. In Uganda, debates continue over who might succeed President Museveni. West Africa highlights. Nigeria dominates headlines with political changes, security operations, and a shortage of doctors. Senegal continues to celebrate its football success. North Africa highlights. Egypt hosted a U.S. envoy for cooperation talks. Libya's bid for a UN Security Council seat is gaining support. Southern Africa highlights. South Africa is pushing economic and electricity reforms, discussed at the World Economic Forum, while the country mourns cultural figures.
Other notable news. Across Africa, conflict, political change, and climate disasters are creating serious humanitarian challenges. The main focus remains on security, aid access, and political stability.
Top trending news today from the South Asian region. Security operations and terror alerts in Pakistan. Intelligence-based operations continue in Balochistan, including the killing of 3 Indian-sponsored terrorists in Panjgur. Security alerts are higher ahead of India's Republic Day on January 26 due to possible cross-border threats. Bangladesh condemns India over Sheikh Hasina's speech. Bangladesh's interim government criticized India for allowing former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to give a public speech in New Delhi. Officials said they were shocked and surprised by the move. Bangladesh election campaigns begin. Campaigning is increasing ahead of Bangladesh's first national elections since former PM Sheikh Hasina's ouster, scheduled around February. GMOA launches nationwide strike in Sri Lanka. The Government Medical Officers Association, GMOA, started an indefinite strike across the country from 8 a.m. today. Doctors are protesting salary differences, poor working conditions, and other policy-related demands. Public hospitals are heavily affected, emergency services are strained. T20 World Cup 2026 dispute. Bangladesh has been dropped from the T20 World Cup after refusing to play matches in India over security concerns. Scotland will replace them. Pakistan's cricket board supports a principled stance after Bangladesh was excluded from the T20 World Cup and replaced by Scotland for refusing to play in India. Severe cold wave and heavy snow in Pakistan. A record-breaking cold spell has hit much of Pakistan. Freezing temperatures have caused office closures, public warnings, and travel disruptions, especially in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Punjab. Pakistan Army is helping with relief efforts. News outlets highlight power issues and safety advisories.
Other notable news. Islamabad passes a new domestic violence law criminalizing threats of divorce, second marriages, and stalking. PSL 2026 is set to start on March 26, with Faisalabad added as a venue. Other updates include weightlifting trials for the 2026 Asian Games and ongoing weather relief efforts. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll keep bringing you interesting and insightful updates on the stories that are shaping our world.